This is TLFM Online Radio Station Chicago, Dimensión Latina FM Radio TV. Baja nuestra aplicación a través de tu iPhone o Android. Búscanos como Dímela FM. Búscanos en TuneIn Radio como Dimensión Latina FM y visita nuestra página web dimelafm.com.
Hello, this is ELSA PRADO with Wings of Love. We are broadcasting live through Radio Dimensión Latina FM, and we are here today doing a great program with Program Director Dr. Kate Barrett. She is in occupational therapy, and she's going to be our guest today because she has a lot of good information for students and for people that may be interested in coming into this type of learning at DePaul University. Welcome to the program, Dr. Kate Barrett.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. I'm very excited that you have this new program that you're launching. And also, you are right now in the facilities where this program is taking place so that the audience can kind of get an idea and a small glimpse of where you're at and how this is operating. Thank you so much for coming on and collaborating with us, because I know that this will give the audience and the community another resource of where to look and how to get to you and how to get enrolled in the program. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is Dr. Kate Barrett, and what is it that you are founding here at DePaul?
Yes, thank you so much. So I have been an occupational therapist for the past 25 plus years. And I actually started my career here in Chicago. I worked in a large hospital system, and then I moved into the Chicago public schools. And I decided I wanted to go back to school so that I could have some more leadership opportunities. I actually never imagined that I would end up teaching, but I became very involved and interested in campus community partnerships. In other words, how community partnerships can enhance student learning as well as the curriculum. So I found myself in academia teaching. But I really like to teach the courses that involve students in the community. And I thought DePaul University is the perfect place to do that because they see Chicago as an extension of the classroom. So I was able to come to DePaul and build what I call a community engaged curriculum. So I'm very excited to be here.
And here at Radio Dimensión Latina, one of the things is that we also want to assist the community with these different resources. And I know that you had mentioned how good it would be to have more bilingual students participating in the program, which is in line with the very large Hispanic community in Chicago. So tell us what you're looking to bring to this program: more diversity, more bilingual education. Tell us more about how you're trying to open this door for a lot of students that might have an opportunity here.
Yes, thank you. So I think, well, I am very aware, and I think many people are aware, that we have a problem in healthcare, that our healthcare professionals do not reflect the community of Chicago in terms of diversity, language, culture, ethnicity, and it's a problem. It's a problem for our healthcare outcomes. And so we know that in order to have better healthcare outcomes throughout Chicago, and it's not specific to Chicago certainly, but throughout the United States, we need to diversify our student body and our health professional body. And I think DePaul is really well positioned to be able to attract students from all sorts of different kinds of backgrounds, with different language abilities, with different life experiences, so that we can better relate to and understand our client population.
Most definitely, but more so, I believe that a lot of times some things kind of get thought of as maybe they don't have a lot of Hispanics at DePaul. Maybe there's not enough of a representation at DePaul, but I wanted to also give you this opportunity to say that there is this opportunity and that you're looking, because we know that these therapists will eventually be having to do the sessions with these patients, and if they can speak the language of the patient that they're taking care of, it more so beneficial for this patient when they get somebody that's really hands-on and can do this with the language as well.
Absolutely. I think DePaul has a very diverse undergraduate student body, a lot of first-generation students at DePaul, and DePaul really prides itself on that. So we're trying to bring students up through DePaul. Our graduate programs need to be more diverse. And exactly what you said about the language, but also as occupational therapists, we're working with people on what's most meaningful to them, their activities of daily living. So what they want to return home to and start cooking, and to have somebody understand what pozole is, or the ethnic foods and recipes, and to be able to relate to people on that day-to-day basis is also really important. So language for sure, as well as culture.
Absolutely. The other thing that I thought would be very interesting is for you to tell us a little bit about your experiences when you also went to other countries, and that you also can speak some Spanish, and that you've also become familiar with countries like Ecuador, like Dominican Republic, like Peru, where you've been exposed to the culture. And not only that, other regions of the culture.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
As an undergraduate student, I had the privilege of spending a semester abroad in the Dominican Republic, and my eyes were completely opened to new ways of doing and being and dancing and eating and talking and relating to one another. And I realized that I have so much to learn from people from other cultures. And my world was just completely opened up. And I really wanted that for my occupational therapy students who hadn't had those opportunities. And sometimes when you're in college and healthcare and you're also working, it's really hard to just check out for a semester and go abroad. So I worked to integrate 2 to 3 week opportunities for healthcare students to be able to go to either Dominican Republic, Ecuador, or Peru, not necessarily to learn therapy skills, but to learn about different ways of relating to one another, different ways of living, so that those students can better come back, better prepared to work with people who come from different parts of the world than they do. And they know what questions to ask. They know what to look for. They can recognize when they're doing something that reflects their own culture that isn't a good match for the person that they're working with. So I think, and honestly, here in Chicago, you don't have to leave the country to be able to do that, right?
No, not at all.
Different communities and different neighborhoods and experience those things. So it's one thing to be immersed, but it's another thing to just take advantage of all the opportunities here in Chicago.
Absolutely. And I think that you're making great strides in opening up these doors to the community. and to the people that will be serving the community, because right now you are going to be training and educating these very therapists that will eventually will be taking care of the people that need this type of occupational therapy. And it's a lot broader than a lot of people imagine, because I've seen every extension of occupational therapy in my own line of work. And you can be doing occupational therapy for a toddler just as much as a senior citizen who is very much still trying to do tasks of daily living and get by without trying to be so dependent on others. So you want them to be as independent as possible, but you're also teaching those skills to these people and the people that you're training, which is phenomenal. I wanted to see if we can gently just move the screen so that you can show them. Right now, Dr. Kate Barrett is actually sitting in the area where she's doing this training, so people can get an idea of the type of setting and setup that she has here. And this is not her house. She's in school at DePaul. And basically, you can kind of see the facilities and how it will help the people that she's going to be having these therapy sessions with, plus the people that eventually will be under the care of these therapists that are her students. I think it's phenomenal, and we will have some pictures in the video as well, so people can get an idea of the celebration that this represents, because this is something that is new, and this is something that is open to the community. And how can people in the community, like let's say we have students watching, how can they find out more about your program? How is it that they can reach out to DePaul to find out, how do I get enrolled, or how do I get more information?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I just showed you a picture of the family apartment that we're in. And then in front of me, which you can't see, is a bedroom with a bathroom facility with all the transfer benches. So we can really practice activities of daily living here at the family apartment. And then later on in the video, you'll see the sensory gym as well as the classroom that's meant for student instruction. So if you're interested in our program, which we would hope that you are, it's a master's program. So once you have your bachelor's degree, and your bachelor's degree can be in anything. Common degrees are psychology, kinesiology, neuroanatomy, but we have art historians, we have sociologists, anthropologists, people who we love a wide variety of undergraduate degrees. And then there's about a set of about 7 courses that if you didn't get it if you didn't take them in your undergraduate degrees, they're prerequisites to enter. All of this information is on our website. You can Google DePaul Occupational Therapy and we will pop up. Mary Palin is the name of our admissions person, and she can answer a lot of your questions about admissions. We have monthly informational sessions. I believe our next information session is this Thursday evening, actually. So if you're interested just in learning more, even if you're in high school right now, these information sessions are open to anybody. And you'll find my email, kate.barrett@depaul.edu, on the website. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a phone call or a campus visit for you. We're really interested in reaching out to broader communities here in the Chicago area.
I wanted to ask, because I know that, community service is so important these days for students. I wanted to ask you if there's any community service opportunities for any high school students or any entry level or like undergraduate students that might want to do any kind of volunteer work in your program or around the school that might help them just kind of like get a better view of what this is about and how it works and all those things.
That's a great question. So we really want our students to have volunteer experience, whether that be or employment experience. whether that be in communities that are different from your own, or nursing homes, or group homes working with adults with disabilities. A lot of our students come with some administrative experience supporting different types of clinics or hospital settings. Here at DePaul, we offer an undergraduate course, which is an introduction to occupational therapy that you can take as a DePaul student or as a student from somewhere else. So if you're interested in learning more about occupational therapy and what we're doing, I encourage you to look into that. I also would direct you to the American Occupational Therapy Association, which is AOTA.org, O-R-G. And they have a great website that really educates the public about what occupational therapy is.
And such a need, nowadays it is such a need that I see over and over again, even in my job, is that, like I said, it spans childhood all the way to senior citizens. So, I mean, this is something that the community gets a lot of benefit from. And I can't emphasize it enough. Tell us more about it, because I can't emphasize enough how important it is.
Yeah, thank you. So just like you said, we work across the lifespan. We start with premature babies in the neonatal intensive care unit, and we're thinking about what are their occupations as little teeny babies, to learn how to eat, to learn how to relate to their parents, to learn how to sleep, and how do we create environments that support them to be able to do that. All the way through senior citizens who are dealing with perhaps trying to stay in their homes and not go to a nursing home. So how do we ensure that they have the supports necessary at home to engage in those meaningful occupations safely, so that they can continue to cook for themselves and use public transportation to get to their medical appointments if they're no longer able to drive. So those really important day-to-day occupations that support the health and well-being of people. I think one area that people might be a little less familiar with occupational therapy is that we work with mental health as well. So sometimes people can't do what they want to do because of some type of physical disability, but we're also looking at people with mental health challenges. So when depression and anxiety or different mental health challenges get in the way, we also work in mental health clinics and community centers. We work with people who are experiencing housing insecurity to see how we can support them. And I think what's important to understand about occupational therapy is we don't just think about disability as residing within a person. The issue really is in the interaction between the person and the environment. So we look at how we can adapt the environment to support the person. So it's important that we're not problematizing the person, but we're focusing on how do we increase access to participation in these meaningful activities for people? What adaptations can we make in the classroom to support students? How do we advocate for better public transportation so that people can access the buses and the trains? So sometimes it's our systems that need the OTs and not just the people.
Exactly. And I'm really glad that it gives you the opportunity to explain this to the community, because sometimes we're not educated enough about these different principles that will be affecting. And I mean, can I not just say that, at some point we will be needing some of these services? I think that most of our families at some point in our lives will be needing these services, or we will need to know information enough to be able to say, oh, my mom might need this, or my aunt might need this, someone in the family might need it, someone in the family might have somebody that needs, these services because of other issues, that we know of, that the person is recovering from certain illnesses, sometimes require it, and things like that. So I think that all of these different things that you can think of, please let the community know, because this is our opportunity to let inform them and let them know more about this.
Yes, absolutely. So we just started our program and we're a week into classes, but I was just with the students and I said exactly what you just said, Elsa, that, disability is actually a normal part of life. And we will all, at one point or another, experience a disabling condition.
Absolutely.
Whether that's, you think about how much a broken toe can impact life and how you have to start to do things differently. And it's not necessarily that you need therapy for a broken toe, but it's that appreciation of how we all adapt and learn how to use our bodies differently or our environments differently to promote our ability to function. So thinking about disability as a normal part of life that will impact all of us, and to know when to reach out for help, I think is also important. But occupational therapists work in, for sure, in the school setting. We work with kids that have learning disabilities or physical disabilities to support their ability to learn in the schools. We work in outpatient clinics with children. Some children, specifically with autism, struggle with sensory processing.
Totally, yes.
In the video next door, we have a gym with swings and a climbing wall and mats to support that sensory integration process. We work with adolescents as they're transitioning from school to independent living, especially when they have been in the special education system and thinking about what's next in terms of vocational training and what kind of employment opportunities there might be. And then we work with people throughout, adults and into aging. Some people acquire a disability through a car accident or traumatic brain injury. And so we'll see them for a shorter amount of time. Sometimes people receive services throughout their lifetime. So there's so much variety. And that's one thing that I really like about it. And I've seen occupational therapists start in one area of practice and move into another area and really be able to honestly avoid burnout by thinking about how to use their skills in different practice areas.
That's true. I think you said a key word. Someone might not want to be doing the very same thing over and over, year after year. But one of the things that is really good is that they can branch out in different directions. Right. There's a lot of opportunity for other things that will make life meaningful and not get boring for the person that's doing this line of work.
Absolutely. Yes. You also asked me to speak a little bit, perhaps more about my international experience. What's exciting to me is that occupational therapy doesn't just exist in the United States. So the opportunity to learn from and work alongside occupational therapists in other countries to see what occupational therapy looks like in other countries. It's a little bit different depending on the healthcare context, depending on how the systems and policies function in those countries. So there's also another website I would direct.
Please share. Yes.
And that's the World Federation of Occupational Therapy. So if you're living here in Chicago and you or your family is from another country, you can go to the World Federation of Occupational Therapy, WFOT.org, and look at, what does occupational therapy look like in Mexico or Colombia or other countries, to get a sense of occupational therapy throughout the country or throughout the world.
Have you seen differences in methods of doing things?
Yes. It's fascinating. I didn't realize how driven we are by reimbursement until I went to Ecuador. Mm-hmm. And I was in their clinic where they see patients with neuro issues. So mostly stroke or Parkinson's, but a lot of variety. And there were people in therapy for years. And I said, Verónica, pero no entiendo cómo pacientes están aquí tanto tiempo. Y ella me dijo, bueno, Kate, ellos quieren estar aquí. Ellos están aprovechando de su tiempo aquí. And I was like, but don't you have to discharge them?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the cost
Our
of,
system is so timed.
yes,
You know, the insurance will say, okay, we allow you X number of sessions per year. And
yes,
then they're faced with, okay, now if there's another occurrence of something, then they got to like start over and
Right.
then get more sessions. So it's a different system altogether.
yes. And so it made me more aware of the system that I work in. And it made me appreciate, you know, what would it look like if people who were continuing to benefit and found meaning in therapy and who could afford therapy. These aren't rich people. These are low to middle income people who can afford to go to therapy. And I thought, well, that also is a whole nother concept that blows my mind, that somebody could afford therapy without the insurance system. So
Right.
it just helps you think outside of your box. Right?
It sure does. It sure does. And you know, and it just opens up your mind. It stretches the mind to think about things that ordinarily you don't even think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What other things can you think of that we can bring to the table right now?
Well, I'll tell a little story about Veronica, my occupational therapist colleague in Ecuador, because I think she's doing some really innovative therapy that we can learn from. So a very common occupation, a meaningful activity in Ecuador is agriculture, and they grow
Yes.
amazing fruits and vegetables. And so on her therapy campus, on the grounds of just outside of her clinic, she contacted her dad and a neighbor to see how to build a greenhouse so that people who had strokes could go out to the greenhouse, plant seeds, take care of them, water them. These are all meaningful, purposeful occupations, way better than sitting in a clinic doing fine motor activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they harvest the plants. They cook meals. So harvesting the plants is another occupation. Cooking meals is another occupation. Selling those meals to the employees of the clinic. And then they use that money to go on community outings that they wouldn't otherwise be able to go on. So
Wow.
I think it's a beautiful example of how, you know, it's not just the community outing. It's the planting the seeds. It's caring for the plants, and how she has helped people find meaning in therapy. And then they can translate those skills at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another way that we can learn from what other therapists are doing, so we don't get stuck in
the certain mode, right?
Right, exactly.
It takes you out of a certain mode, and it's like, wait, there's other options that we have within the same line of work, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think everything you're bringing here is also going to be eye-opening to some people.
Good. I hope so.
Because a lot of times I think that's what happens. We get boxed in with certain things, and then we can't think outside of those certain things. For some reason, it does happen.
Right. Yes. And that's why we want to attract diverse students with diverse experiences, because we really believe that when we have a diverse student body, we can be learning from and with each other, and that everybody brings something to the classroom that they can learn from. So we have students telling stories about what it was like when their grandmother came here from Mexico, or a parent from Bosnia, or whatever it is, or when a grandparent had a stroke and had to receive therapies inside the house. So students bring these experiences and these stories to help us better understand the human experience, really. And that's really important for occupational therapists to be curious about.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing, you know, all the things that have to be brought forward. But I think that it's very enriching for the students that will be in your program. I think that you'll be able to offer them a big, vast variety of different things that you're bringing to this program. So I think I mean, how much better does it get, because you're really giving them a lot.
Well, and I'm excited because we're in Chicago and we've been able to partner with community organizations. So students are going to learn about the experience of being an asylum seeker, or the experience of going to the Chicago Public Schools on the South and West sides.
Definitely.
You're going to learn about, I'm trying to think about some of our other community partners. They'll be working with children of recently arrived refugees. They'll be working with college-age students with disabilities who are in a 3-year college program. So they just have so many opportunities, again, to learn from and with the people of Chicago. And so it's a vibrant place to
Yes, for
be
sure.
an OT student.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all this information with us. We are going to have to be closing because we're running out of time. But tell us, is there anything else that you want to share before we close?
Just if you're interested in learning more about occupational therapy, we are here. We answer our phones, we respond to our emails, and we're happy to talk to people who are interested in learning about how to access occupational therapy services, how to become an occupational therapist, and just what is occupational therapy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing everything, for being there at DePaul and being able to show us a little bit of what this is and how it works, and all the nuts and bolts as you have now covered. But thank you so much for having shared all of this information, because our community needs this kind of information so that they become informed about the options that they have. And I think that these options that you have are absolutely amazing. I mean, there's going to be probably more that they can add. And I can sometimes, with all the gadgets that you use for occupational therapy, who knows, you might have an inventor of some gadget down the road, that might say, you know what, I can invent something that's going to help people, put their socks on, or take their jacket off, or zip themselves up, or, all these different things that affect us in our daily living, basically. But yes. Thank you so much for sharing and being here with us. And I really hope this isn't the last time. If ever you guys need, to connect with us again so that we can get this information out, please do. Please do. Right. I leave an open invitation for you for something down the future. Thank you very much. I'm going to have to say goodbye. I do thank everybody that listens to us and that will be sharing this information. I hope you all share this information with others so that we can get this information out and help the program in any way, and help the community by letting them know that this is available as well. Thank you, everyone who shares with us. I send all of my greetings and blessings for everyone that shares with us. And I thank Dr. Kate Barrett for having been with us. Thank you so much. And until next time, goodbye.
Estación de los latinos en Chicago y el mundo. Dimensión Latina FM. Solo música buena.